Hello, everyone. Welcome to Intuitions, a weekly chat series that talks about topics that are very relevant but not well discussed. One such topic is judgment and the art of not passing one. And we will talk about what is judgment, when and why do we do it, and how not to do it. This little thing that makes a lot of difference to us as well as to people whom we pass a judgment on. We feel it's important to talk about it. And my name is Prateek. I'm a researcher working towards a PhD in biomedical instrumentation here at Bangalore, India. And I'm joined by two good friends, Dr. Gangadhar and Dr. Ananya. Hey, Ananya.
Hi, Pradeep.
Hi.
Hi, Gangadhar. I'm Ananya. I'm a climate scientist. I'm a PhD in climate science, and now currently I'm working on an ex situ conservation project based at Kanha Shanti Vanam at the outskirts of Hyderabad.
Hi, this is Dr. Gangadhar. I am currently pursuing my postdoctoral research in VUP, Belgium. Uh, my research currently is on determining structure of proteins using cryo-electron microscopy. For that, I'm developing an automated purification tool that can simplify the task a lot. That's where we are.
Okay, great. So let me start by saying that we are talking about judging people, which means defining a person based on how they look, or what they say, or what they possess, or maybe their actions. This is a little thing, a small thing that will matter a lot, not just to you, and how it affects you, and how it affects the people around you. That is important to talk about. So this is something to be noted that we always talk about judgment, or we always judge people only in a negative direction. We may see a guy walking down the street wearing a plain t-shirt and a simple pair of denims, and we'll never think that this guy could be a rich guy. We'll always think that this guy might not have money. So often we pass judgments on people knowingly, but very often we do it unknowingly. It's like we are programmed to do it. And I can think of so many reasons why we do it. Bulk of it comes from our societal conditioning. So, we are used to living in a society, India or such countries especially, where the kind of clothes you wear, how flashy you are, can often be constructed as a measure of your wealth. While it may not be the case in some other countries, it's frowned upon in some other countries. And I think this is just one of the things that drives us towards judging people. What do you say, Ananya?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, firstly, we are talking about it's good that we have made it clear that it's about people and not really about making informed decisions, say about things or picking up a project or a product that suits you or any of those. But I think the when part of it, when we judge, is something that we need to give a little more thought on as to. I mean, it can be as evident as the examples that you gave, but also I feel sometimes it's very subtle, the when part of it. I mean, it may be like you said, an unconscious thing,
Mm-hmm.
and we might do it on a daily basis on so many I mean, it depends on how many people you interact with, or maybe not face to face, but even mentally, a picture or an image of a person, and there are so many thoughts that come along with it, say a person's name, and then so many thoughts just come along with it, and that also I would consider as, I think, a judgment on the person, right? I mean, whether it is their action is one thing, or the way they look, or the way they speak, their accents, any of those, I think all of them constitute for um, passing a judgment. Yeah, I would say that. What do you think, Another?
Yeah, I do agree with both of you. I would like to add some other context for the judgment, which currently the society probably is involved into. Starting with my personal experience as a researcher, I mean, that may resonate well within your work culture and other places as well, Um, so we have been seeing a judgment as one-sided, as already Pratik and Ananya have been saying, that we associate it typically with, um, the color or the status or whatnot. But whereas there comes certain context, for example, as a researcher, I have been doing my PhD, post graduation, I mean, a postdoctoral degree, and much earlier, even undergraduation. So even during those times, um, we always go through situations where we do work a lot, and results in research, you take it for granted, they're always uncertain. And now, because you're not getting results well, so your boss looks into your results and says, what are you doing? You're not giving your, I mean, best of the efforts to the problem. And then he starts reacting to it and judging you that you're not fit for it and all sorts of that stuff. How does that impact you? I consider that is also a judgment, which the professor is passing on, onto you on your work, just in a reactive way, without really not looking into the details. But there could be another scenario, I have also come across with other sorts of professors where they say a similar scenario where you work a lot and you don't get the results, but the professor now calms down, and then gently respond, okay, dear Gangadhar, let us see the problem this way. You have been working so much. Let us look into where all things might have gone wrong, and coming up with a solution. Which one do you prefer?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but then that's such a rare scenario, with, especially with professors.
Yeah, I
Somebody just
understand.
pointing out and saying that. I mean, of course, we do wish for such a, a situation, heartful
Yeah.
situation where professors are that understanding. But yeah, unfortunately,
And
it's
I'm
not the
sure
case.
it's not just
And I'm
professors, it's
judging now.
everywhere.
Right.
Yeah, true.
But
I'm sure
the
it's not
reality.
just the case with professors. It's the case in every work area. Everybody works for somebody, and whomever they are working for, they will tend to judge again. Sometimes some cautiously. They may know that this guy is a really good person at their work. They really know their job well. But as long as the results are coming, everything's fine. When results don't come, people start implying things. So Gangadhar made a very good point. He compared two situations, and I just feel the second situation in which your boss does not, judge you immediately and sits with you or thinks things through would definitely lead to much faster solutions, much better solutions, much more efficient work getting done compared to just passing a judgment. And this is one of the prime cases where, uh, you know, where we say that passing a judgment on someone affects them when they come to know, and it's such a big issue now. But it is one of those scenarios where passing a judgment has affected the guy passing the judgment himself. So if the boss is not supportive of your work and they're just discouraging you by saying those things, the work takes longer to finish, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think now, I think
Yeah.
we can now move to why we judge. I mean, this comes down to like why we make these judgments, right? I mean, like what
Yeah.
is it that makes us judge others, or what is it that has? I mean, what goes on in our minds when we make these kind of ideas in our head, right?
So societal conditioning is definitely one of those things, and I think that is something pretty obvious. Another thing that I have noticed sometimes is our judgments often reflect the personal problems that we are facing. So, for example, somebody trying to stay fit, in this case, that somebody would be me, and trying to eat clean stuff, not eat junk food or packaged food. So this sort of weighs in my mind, and when I see my wife eating junk food or eating packaged food, I instantly get angry. Okay, and this is a sort of strange situation where I later realized that my judgment came not just because of what she was doing, but because of what I think I should be doing as well. So it's societal, and it's a reflection of your personal problems as well. Is what I see. Is what I feel.
Yeah, you're right. But also, I think I I mean, a child, for example, would be much less judgy of anything that's happening around him or any person that he meets. For example, a
Mm.
small child is introduced to another child or an adult, it's not going to just like, this uncle is not good, this uncle is a nice person, things like that. I think it has to do with um, growing up, the kind of environment that you're in, and what you see, what you perceive as your truth. I mean, so
Mm.
for you, this becomes, you start classifying some things as good, some things as bad, some good qualities, bad qualities, and your experiences. I think experiences play a vital role in this as
Yeah,
well. I mean,
true, true.
you have some good experiences with people, and then sometimes you're cheated on by someone, and then you're like, okay, classify this group of people as, okay, I need to be wary of them. At least that itself is a judgment, or even a good judgment of like, all um, all say Marathis are all sweet people. I mean, I'm just saying, it's just a random statement, but then, things like that. I think it happens through your own experience, has a lot to do with it. And and of course, society makes you believe things through social media or movies or any of these games. Your mind is conditioned slowly over time to judge and have an opinion. I mean, I'm not saying having an opinion is bad, but again, it comes down to, you make a judgment and then you have the opinion that it is this way or that, right? I mean, you are
Yeah,
putting things
this
into
is
black or white, is what I
Yeah,
feel.
that's so true. I mean, the environment of upbringing matters so much. I
Mm.
remember this colleague that we had at work, somebody who was extremely pushy about their work, extremely competent about their research, to the point of being unethical at times, where we had to stop them from doing what they were doing because we considered it unethical. And he was judged in black and white, as you say, by everyone in the lab and everyone in the environment. One day over tea, he very casually mentioned, I guess he read the expression in our eyes, and he said, if you guys were in my place, you would be just acting the way I am. And we were shocked. And then he started talking about how his mother is a researcher and father is also a researcher, and they both compete against each other. And whenever he calls home and he talks to his mother, one of the prominent points of discussion is how good is his research doing, or is he doing good or not? And if he's not doing good, then he's not worthy of love. So I imagined, like, this guy must have grown up in that environment. He's somewhere around my age. So many years of conditioning the mind that this is survival. You need to do this at any cost. Obviously, the person would behave that way. So it's so true. Upbringing matters so much.
Three Idiots. It reminds me of Three Idiots. Type fake race hai.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that happens.
So
Yeah, that's sad.
essentially, yeah. So
Yeah, go
essentially, I
on.
think, yeah, I think we have come across uh, various ways of defining the judgment and what sort of situations that people go through. And some of the crucial points, if we look into here, I understood them as people through conditioning, they develop impressions and
Mm.
about the people, or situations or anything, which further condition them uh, as a filter into their eyes. When they're going to see a similar situation or a similar person, they're going to classify. So that has its own good aspects and bad aspects. But what we're more concerned is the negative aspects that the act of judging produces. uh, so, as I said in my earlier example, where it is going to produce a loss of productivity in terms of when a person is going to be judged. And it can more so happen even with the relations. Relations get strained quite a lot when we start judging the other person instead of finding a solution for the problem at the moment. So, judging overall is indeed a problem that we can all see it nowadays in the society. The moment a person starts judging, we know that he's not a person worthy to be with for long enough duration because it keeps hurting us.
True.
Yeah,
So,
I also sorry, Gangadhar, go on. Did
no,
you?
I was just trying to say that then there should be some ways probably how we should think of getting rid of this act of judgment.
Yeah, I
whatever
mean,
the thing that ingrained within us.
yeah. Also, I feel that, growing up, there were times when I was actually chided or, scolded for not making a judgment, for example. I mean, um, with regards to, like, you're not being street smart, or you're not being wary of things and people if you're not making a judgment. So this, especially in my teen years, and maybe my undergraduation as well, there was this feeling that, maybe I should be more aware of what people are like, and make a judgment on them. I mean, like, so that it doesn't affect me, it doesn't hurt me much. But what I've now come to realize is that what I perceive as the truth, as reality, might not be the reality for another person. And my judgment and my me judging people might be based on my truth at that moment, and that truth itself might change over time, and it might not be the actual reality too. I mean, like, the other person might be perceiving things very differently from what I am, right? And so yeah, I mean, in all sense, or in all given sense, so yeah, judgment, passing a judgment on a person, I think, yeah, it can be quite harmful for both the person as well as for us. But I agree on that. But I also want to highlight that, people do look at people who don't make a judgment as, maybe he's being foolish. He's not smart enough to do this. So I mean, being aware of things is very different from being aware of how a person is, or being aware of how things are, a situation is very different from passing a judgment on a person, is what I feel. And that's why it's called art of not judging, right? I mean, art, we need to, yeah, look at
Yeah,
that.
that's true. That's true. I mean, that's a very valid point. You don't need to judge a person. You need to assess the situation that you're in and handle it accordingly. So many
Yeah.
times, for example, this particular colleague and many other people who would be judged in black and white, but when you behave as per the situation that you have with them, and not as per the bias that you have in your mind. When you don't do that, when you just handle the situation well, I've often seen immediate changes in their behavior as well. So people who would not behave well with most of the other people, and then people in my work group would form an impression of them that this person is rude, they're not cool, they're not nice to talk to. But when you go to that person and actually talk to them nicely, they may talk to you rudely at once or twice or thrice, but when you keep talking to them nicely, just as per the situation, often I've seen a change in their attitude as well. So that's true. You can be street smart without being judgmental.
So that's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
much true. I mean, it brings us to the point that we are humans. We are imperfect in the all sense,
True.
but we also keep getting refined. We're not the same person, at any moment we take.
Mhm.
We keep changing. We keep keeping becoming better in different ways.
Hmm.
So, which means the impression that we took of one person because he was rude or angry at one moment cannot be a filter or a way to judge him into the future.
True.
Into the future he might have become much a sweeter person. So, and probably he could be the best person we could be with. So who knows? So whatever the impressions that we probably take from the past, something should not interfere into our future or with whatever the way how we are going to deal with. But when it comes to the point of which Ananya has made earlier, that we should be wary of the situations. I mean, if we don't know whether a person is a good person or a bad person, how things work out, like uh, we without having any knowledge, if we keep going through in a relationship with someone and we are not judging him, but we know that actually that there is some feeling that's going on, he is a bad person or he's actually a bad person, but eventually it may result in a heartbreak, because he's not a really good guy. But if we had made a discrimination in the very beginning itself, that okay, maybe through some ways and means, that he is probably a right person to be with or to be not with, probably it saves a heartbreak for us. So probably I think that's one of the point which Ananya was making, and I think it's valid. So how do we go about it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a very tricky thing, I feel. I mean, this not making a judgment. I mean, the whole topic itself is very tricky in terms that you need to make informed decisions. You need to have an idea of situation, of people, of everything, and at the same time you need to keep away your prejudices, keep away your biases, and try not to make judgments of people. I mean, I think it's a tough thing. It definitely is a tough thing to do. I mean,
I think it can be handled as in, as you were talking about, self-awareness is one of the first things that is important. So first you have to acknowledge that judgment is a problem, make passing a judgment is a problem. That's the first step to solving the problem. And when you do that, the first thing you do is to be self-aware, to be aware of the situation. And when you're dealing with someone, assess the situation, maybe assess the person at that point of time, but remind yourself that this is not what defines that person. They must have gone through several things that has formed this set of impressions in their minds, in their hearts, and that's why they're behaving this way. It doesn't mean the person is bad. It doesn't mean actions may be bad. The person may not be bad. So I think the art of not judging starts with this self awareness of what you're doing, how you're dealing with someone, and to remind yourself that this person can be the best person on the planet, uh, just if they just if you do not judge them at that point of time. Just go with the situation, not form an opinion based on how you perceive them, but assess the situation properly. I think that's one of the first things to do. And of course, from personal experience, I think meditation helps a lot in making you aware of the situation, connecting within and being mindful and being heartful in all your actions and on your words. So that's my 2 cents on how to go about not judging, being aware. And if you're meditating well and doing your meditation practice well, then I think that comes more naturally.
Okay,
Gangadhar, would you
nice
like to add?
point. Yes, nice point, Pratik. So at this point, I would like to touch a bit more about what happens when we start getting into a situation where we don't know anything much about the person. You know, uh, as Ananya was pointing it out. Okay, even if we know the person, it's definitely not good for us to judge him now based on whatever the impressions that we had about that person in the past. Okay, so it leads to a prejudiced way of judging. You know, but we also should carefully judge the person in the sense that we don't want to have a heartbreak. Let us say I want to get into a relationship with a girl, but if I don't know the girl well, she may have some bad habits which probably are not of similar frequency as I am into. Then what happens at the end? We may have a diversion of pathways, and eventually it will lead to a heartbreak.
No, no,
So
I need to object here, okay? I mean, not because of the girl issue, but no, no, no. But what I meant to
no,
say is
it
that
can be either way. So
no, what I also want to add here is that see, that is making an informed decision. This is what I mean by like
Hmm.
segregating informed decisions from judgment. Okay, I mean, like you're judging somebody is like it's a heavy word, as it is judgment. Okay, but an informed decision is about these things, about the person's behavior, and you try to avoid them or like include them in your life. That's a I feel there's a distinction between the two things. And a judgment clearly is before you assess everything about the person. I mean, it's the first thing that comes to your mind. I think you look at the girl and you judge her for like whatever. I mean, she looks good or does not look good, or like she talks well, doesn't talk well. I mean, it's more on a more preliminary basis is what I feel. I mean, it's what comes much later through interactions and all of that. I think it's more to do with an informed decision. I mean, the discrimination part of it, the viveka. I mean, it's you're using your discriminatory abilities to have a person in your life or not have a person in your I mean, if it comes to that. But it's is is what I feel. I mean, it's a little different about from that. And adding to, I liked what you said, Pratik, about self-awareness. I mean, so yeah, I do feel that meditation is something that lets you be self-aware. and aware of everything around you as well. I mean, like how we discussed, our judgments are basically stemming from our conditioning, how we have, uh, you know, grown up, and everything that we have collected around us, information and impressions and all of that. And I think through meditation, what actually happens is that you are unconditioning, deconditioning yourself. You're freeing
True.
ourselves from these conditioning, and so not judging becomes that much more easier. This is what I felt. I mean, there were two things when I heard this topic. There were two things that came to my mind. One is the art of not judging. Art comes through practice, right? I mean, so I really did. I mean, over a period of time, I would like self awareness that okay, I am making this judgment, and I would try and push that thought away, push that judgment away, and make a conscious effort to not judge. And also, the greater thing that has happened with me through meditation is that it has become a gradual process of non judging, and that I think comes through the cleaning techniques that we have with Heartfulness especially has helped me. I mean, like, so you're removing any preconditioning, you're removing any former impressions that come. So with that, I think it's becomes easier, and it's a more gradual process of not judgment. And I'm surprised myself sometimes, like, oh, okay, I did not judge my professor on this. You know, although he was being mean and rude to me, I did not judge him. Okay, I hope it's not watching, but yeah. No, but this has happened to me, is what I feel. Yeah, I mean, Gangadhar, you you were about to.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't cut you in between.
No, it's okay. So, yeah, I was trying to make the point in the similar lines that uh, we need to make a decision, definitely. I mean, about the person with whom we wanted to make a relationship or break a relationship, whatever it is. But it has to be, as Ananya mentioned, not prejudiced, but it has to be informed. It has to be an informed decision where we analyze the person in the present. So in the current situation, is he or she is the right person, for me. We look into various aspects of the person and eventually come to a feeling or a sense of a decision based on looking everything. It's not something, I only see one aspect of it and I say, aha, he's good in that aspect, so he must be the right person for me. But many marriages or relationships do fail because just that one aspect cannot really bind people always. So it is something which you have to look into all aspects and come to a sense of decision over it. But the first, I mean, it boils down to what Pratik was mentioning earlier, that we have to be aware in the moment, not biased by our previous judgments, but be in the moment, be responsive rather than reactive. In the sense, don't quickly jump onto a conclusion, onto anything. You just looked into something, don't act over it, but pause a moment, observe the person like in other aspects as well, see overall how it works for you. So that responsive behavior is something which naturally will come when we are going to start living in the moment, or you know so through the practice of meditation, yes, definitely it comes to us, as meditation itself is teaching us, become a witness. Just let whatever the thoughts that are going to come to you pass by through. Don't stop them, but let them come and go. But what you are doing over there in meditation is, as you're not attending to anything else, you are actually trying to stay in the present. So that is naturally a way how meditation is helping. I think you people were also talking about how cleaning was helping in, I think so. So can you go ahead further on?
No, Pratik, do you have anything to add, or uh, there's
No, I
just
didn't have
one.
much to add. I just wanted to add one last thing that awareness of that moment helps is the starting point to this art of not judging people. Awareness, of course, self awareness can be deepened to a great extent by meditation. Cleaning is a very powerful tool to do that. Another thing that I think helps a lot is a bit of introspection for each one of us. And of course, the few minutes before bedtime are a very nice time to introspect. A lot of us abuse that time by either being on Instagram or thinking about all the things that we could have done but have not done, rewinding the tape of life. But uh, I feel it has helped me and a lot of friends like me a lot to spend a few minutes with ourselves before bedtime, just being grateful for all that we have, and giving these positive affirmations or suggestions to ourselves that okay, today was a great day, tomorrow when I wake up I'm going to be an even better person. I think that also works a lot. You can call it a bedtime prayer, you can call it a bedtime connect with
Suggestion.
ourselves. I think it's important. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all.
one last thing that I feel meditation does with respect to, not judging, out of not judging, is also I think it gives you the intuitive ability. So you get some thoughts in your head, but more like an intuition. It's an intuition that this can be this or this can be that. And so going by your intuition, I think I would classify it as the voice of the heart, maybe. And so hearing, listening more to that, I think it makes things easier. So you're not judging per se, but things more clearly that way. I mean, I feel um it's intuitive ability as well as what gives you an opportunity to not judge based on your information that you have, or your prejudices or biases is another thing. So I have a few interesting questions that are popping up here. So one by Vijay. I'm putting it to you guys. How to be aware that we are judging someone? Oh, this is an important question. How do we know? At that moment it would be tough to analyze whether we are judging or not, right? This is the question. I mean, so how do we know that you're judging somebody is the question.
The moment, I think, this is my perspective of whether we are judging someone or not. The moment your mind start calculating and start saying, okay, whether he is good or bad,
Mm,
whether you start categorizing, giving an adjective to it, giving, telling that he is a rude person, he's pretty, she's pretty, what not, any kind of a such a kind of feeling that you're an impression that you're going to create over there, I will say it, you're judging. So it need not be always a conscious way of doing it. It's just a subconscious way because we somehow got conditioned the way we were brought up in our past, so far. So this is one way. Whenever you think you're doing it, you're judging someone.
yeah, I
Pratik?
can feel that we are when we're judging. It's a judgment is a reaction. So whenever there's a stimulus, we see someone, or we're talking to someone, or listening to someone. One thing that we can do is to react, which most of us do for most of the time, based on our conditioning. But what we should be doing, I feel, is we should be responding, and the difference comes in uh, a very perceivable difference comes in is the time. So you see someone and you instantly have a reaction to them. Oh, this guy's poor. Oh, that girl's pretty. Or you could just take a step back at that point of time, uh, not react immediately, but you know think over it, and you know at that moment not go by the what do you call it, a knee jerk reaction. Think over the situation that presents to you at that point of time, and then you'll realize that you are about to pass a judgment, but the situation may not be the way it seems to be. And that's what I call as a response. So technically speaking, a response is what is needed if you don't want to judge.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think I was also going to mention that it's the action. I mean, action. What do you do after, say, you're interacting with somebody, and it's the action that you take towards the person, or in the interaction that I think you should consider very well before moving ahead, because that's when you realize, oh, okay, this is where I've judged, and be a little aware of doing that. I think, yeah, for
Yeah.
me, that's
So
how I would think of myself judging a person or a situation. Yeah. And there's another very interesting question. This pertains to do how do I not judge myself? Yeah, so this is, how do I stop judging myself? I find myself underestimating my capabilities often. This is a very much needed take on these things. Yeah. So how do we
yeah.
do that? I mean, I feel that I keep doing that too. I mean, it's an ongoing process. Of course,
All
we
of
are
us
all
do that.
Yes.
learning, but yeah, I keep judging myself too. I mean, maybe I talk too much. Maybe I'm this, and maybe I'm hyper. I mean, all these judgments obviously you have on oneself, but I think a state of acceptance, self acceptance of anything, the way you are, accepting oneself for what you are, at the same time maintaining an urge to change. I think that helps in not judging oneself. Like I'm like this, that's it, okay, fine. But if me being like this is hurting someone else, I would try and change that. But again, I would not undermine myself because of that. I mean, so I think not judging oneself comes through acceptance, but it is much easier said than done. But I think meditation definitely helps in this as well. I mean, you change delta amount of change per day, but over time you tend to see that you're a much more refined, different version of yourself. So I think over time the acceptance comes naturally too. I mean, the judgment becomes much more lesser, and even if I judge myself now, I'm just like, hey, I'm like this. And like I said, I would try to improve on the negatives which would hurt others maybe. But with regards to just myself, I'm like, yeah, I'm fine the way I accept myself.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's important to remind ourselves that we are a work in progress, you know.
yeah,
And self-love is important. Of course, self-love doesn't mean only Netflix and chill. It means a lot of other things to many people. But yeah, self-love is important, and you need to remind yourself that you're moving towards perfection, and also keep in mind that no one is perfect, and you know all the I think part of that problem what the person has asked about underestimating capabilities, part of it comes from this digital age where you have people putting up videos of themselves doing amazing things, and he's like, wow, I wish I could do that, or I wish I could look like that. And you don't see the amount of hard work that has gone through it, the thousands of retakes of videos that they have taken, or the months on months of effort that they have made, right? So, I mean, this is a this is a huge problem in our generation right now. We look at someone, we look at Mark Zuckerberg, we look at Bill Gates, like, I wish I had that private jet. I am just not capable of it. This guy must have done something. Well, they have worked for 18 hours a day for a long time. You do that, and you might just never know. So I think it's important to remember that everyone's human, everyone's imperfect, but everyone has or should find a purpose in their life and work towards it. And if you're doing that, then there is no need to be judgmental about yourself. You need to remember that you're on the path, you're going ahead on the path. You'll reach the destination. You need to enjoy the view around as well.
Very
yeah,
good. So maybe as it comes here, like, probably towards the end of our discussion, uh, I would like to add one more thing about the heartfulness practice, because we have been emphasizing so much over the meditation part of the heartfulness practice. Definitely, it does help us to start coming down into the present moment. But there is another additional practice, which is called cleaning, which I personally felt, quite awesome and helpful. Was this cleaning? What it does is this practice is also called rejuvenation. Uh, Whatever the impact generally I used to have, whenever I'm going to judge someone. Okay, so when it's going to happen, it happened, even without my knowledge. It has led to an impression of that somebody onto me in the past, whatever it is. Now, how do I ensure that that impression doesn't make me, judge the person into the future? Generally, it does affect us. So the process of cleaning is all about removing all these impressions that are acting as filters in seeing the other person. You know, Instead of seeing them as they are, we are seeing them as blue, green, different versions of the colors, which we have taken from the past as impressions. So I feel if we can use this technique effectively, we actually can get rid of the effect of the past, uh, taking us or making us do certain things in a very mechanical way. That for the art of judging to develop, I feel cultivating this habit of cleaning ourselves of whatever the impact of the past, I feel is one of the crucial steps that we can undertake. So I feel that
Thanks,
does
thank
help.
you, Gangadhar. Yeah, that's a very valid point. I mean, yeah, does cleaning definitely. I also vouch for it. Definitely helps. Yeah, like I said, removing the conditioning that we already have that makes us judge things and people. Yeah, so I think we can now conclude this discussion with the meditation. But just before that, let me quickly summarize what we discussed today. So we started off with what judgment is. I mean, we were talking about people here, and how other people judging you can also affect you. I mean, how is it bad? Not just you judging others, but others judging you can also be, like Gangadhar said, it can be detrimental. So in all ways, making passing a judgment is something that we need to avoid. And how we go about it is through our efforts of like knowing when we are judging something or someone, and at that moment try not to do it, and also through a gradual process of change. And also to remember that, you know, judging oneself is also included in art of not judging. So trying to remember that we are all a work in progress, and we don't need to compare ourselves with anybody or anything. So um, and that would help us not judge. And also connecting better to oneself, being self-aware, aware of the moment, can help us to not make a judgment. I think this is pretty much everything, right, that we talked about. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so I think Gangadhar, you can take us through a short meditation session, if that's okay.
Yeah. So we will do guided relaxation and then we move on to the meditation. So during the relaxation, we start moving from the toes, relaxing each part by part till we reach the top of the head. After that, we do the meditation. We bring our attention to our heart and we make a suggestion that the source of divine light is already present in the heart. And then we let go with the process. So let's start. Gently close your eyes. Take a deep breath within and let go. Gently bring your attention to your toes. Wiggle your toes and feel them relaxed. Relax your feet and ankles. Feel the healing energy moving from Mother Earth through your feet, up the legs, relaxing your lower legs. The energy moves up the legs, relaxing your upper legs.
The energy moves up the legs, relaxing your hips, waist, and abdomen. The energy moves to your back, relaxing your lower and upper backs. The energy moves forward into your chest area, relaxing whole of it. The energy moves up into your shoulders, relaxing them. Feel them simply melting away. The energy moves down your arms, relaxing your biceps, elbows, muscles in the lower arms, hands till the fingertips. Feel the energy oozing out of your fingertips. Now, the energy moves up into your neck, relaxing all the neck muscles. The energy moves up into your face, relaxing your chin, lips, tongue, the whole of the mouth, nose, earlobes, eyelids, all the facial muscles, forehead, till the top of the head. Feel how your whole body is relaxed from the top of the head till the tip of the toes. Now the process of relaxation is complete. Gently bring your attention to your heart. make a suggestion that the source of divine light is already present in the heart and it is attracting us inwards. With this suggestion, let us start meditation. That's all. Before you open your eyes, you may gently observe your heart, your emotions, your mind, and the whole body. Make a mental note of them. Take your own time to gently open your eyes.
Thank you so much, Gangadhar, for the wonderful session. It's a glimpse into what meditation can do. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you all. See you. Bye.
Bye bye, everyone.